Hello, my name is Jennifer.
I'm Mary.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Acacia.
And we're from the Bega campus. The text we've chosen for this Stage 2 unit of work is Jeannie Baker's Hidden Forest. As the blurb reads, looking for his lost fish trap, Ben thinks he sees something dark moving under the water. Is it a creature or only his imagination? He dives into sea and discovers a wonderful hidden forest full of amazing creatures. Using her personal experience of diving and snorkeling around Tasmania's Tasman Peninsula, the Australian author creates a rich text which explores the magic of kelp forests. Growing in cool, shallow waters of the northern and southern hemispheres, kelp forests offer a protective habitat for numerous plant and animal species. However, scientists are beginning to become concerned that the kelp species featured in this book, known as the giant kelp, is starting to disappear.
Our big idea for the unit is therefore sustainability. Drawing on ideas and themes from the text, students are provided with the opportunity to experience the different viewpoints of various stakeholders, research impacts on our underwater worlds, and create solutions to reduce human impact on these environments. Our creative arts unit seamlessly integrates activities for literacy and geography, whilst providing differentiation strategies for gifted and talented students to extend their thinking and skills.
So we're now going to go through our activities and do a demonstration of one of the two activities.
Okay, so our first activity for dance is flocking. So students are going to engage in a whole class flocking activity, reflecting the contrasting movements from above and below the water. So Acacia is going to be our leader of our flock.
Yep, so the second activity, before we get to that, the second activity, students will choreograph a dance. So two of the smaller groups from the flocking will merge, and each group will have to teach the other one their choreography, and then together they'll weave their choreography together and perform a piece. So we'll demonstrate the flocking activity now.
Alright, our two activities for drama include a storyscape and a hot seat activity. So activity 1 is our storyscape, and drawing on the flora and fauna found in the hidden forest, we discuss the ways that each of these creatures move underwater, and there's a little short clip that they can watch to draw on some examples from. Focusing on the element of mood, students will choose one of these creatures and actually move around the room, creating the atmosphere that they're happy and healthy. And then we're going to freeze the frame, and our divers are going to come in and explain what they can see in our water. So they're seeing the healthy environment. And then pollution gets thrown into the water, and our animals and our underlife creatures will see how they are affected by this pollution. Again, we'll freeze frame, and our diver will come in and have a look at the impact that this has had on the underwater. And then in our hot seat, as a class, we'll brainstorm questions that you could ask stakeholders that are involved in sustainability and changing environments. So this could be divers, scientists, holidaymakers, surfers, a local food chain owner, so maybe someone that's running a local McDonald's, having a look at the impact that their waste has on the water, and even animals as well. So as a class, we'll brainstorm some questions that we could ask these animals and stakeholders, and then students will choose a character at random, or we can allocate these to kids, and they come up on the hot seat for everyone else to interview, and they have 1 minute to answer all questions in character from our interviewees. So we're going to now demonstrate the Storyscape. And action.
Oh.
And freeze.
Wow, look at all this magical kelp. It's so healthy and vibrant. Wow, look at all the sea creatures. Oh my goodness, is that a starfish? Wow, so beautiful and healthy. It feels so nice to swim in such clear, glassy water.
And action.
Ah, pollution.
Freeze.
Oh, it's so sticky and oily, this water. Wow, what's happened to all the kelp? It's died. Oh my goodness, what's all this rubbish? And is that a straw? Oh my goodness, what's happened to this beautiful place? And cut.
Oh, wrong. Music. Oh, it's me. Okay. So for our music activity in the program that's covering the outcomes MS 2.1, MUS 2.1, MUS 2.2, MUS 2.4, we have two activities. The first activity is nature versus man-made. Students will find a spot on the floor and be played briefly to recordings. Firstly, they'll get played natural noises, which are rain, waves, maybe birds, and secondly, they'll be played man-made noises, which is construction work, drills, cars, city kind of noises. While the soundscapes are playing, students are listening for the musical concepts that may be evident, so they're looking for their dynamics, they're looking for their tone colour, any other kind of musical concepts that might come up. And then they're to think, pair, share about how these clips made them feel and why. Students will then be played the noises again and be able to respond to that by creating movements and facial expressions in reflection to the noises that they're hearing. The second activity we have for music is our take on sustainability. In pairs, students are to develop, or small group students are to develop an instrumental piece, song or chant in relation to sustainability. Students are focusing on the musical concept of dynamics, so that is noises going from soft to loud, so we'll be looking for that inside that activity. In utilising this technique, students are developing contrast within their work. After the performances, students can complete a peer review to give feedback to the other students as to how well they integrated that musical concept of dynamic into their creative piece. So we'll now act out our take on sustainability element. Okay. That was fascinating. I mean, fantastic.
Alright, so for the visual arts element of the unit, the idea was to create a class-made installation, and that requires two activities or lessons. The first is a kelp collage that students use disposable materials like newspaper, magazines, wrapping paper, bottle tops, cardboard, whatever's suitable, and on large A1 pieces of card, a kelp outline would be drawn and then covered with the materials trying to get the kids to think about what are some good materials to use that kind of create the look and feel of the kelp, and also thinking about how difficult it would be to create such a beautiful natural element from our environment. The other activity is word fish. So the fish will go around the kelp that they have made. Once that's been made and we're sticking on the wall, it's meant to look like the fish are swirling around the kelp. The fish will also be drawn onto watercolour paper, like the one behind us, and inside the kids are going to splatter with watercolour, splatter, splash, dribble, whatever they like. Once that's dried over the paint, they're to create some word art, writing words such as food, protection, warmth, cooling, anything to do with what the kelp does for the environment, or how we could protect the hidden forest or the kelp. And I think I was just going to show how the fish sort of work. So if you can imagine, this is a A3 piece of watercolour paper. The kids have some templates that could easily be taken from Creative Commons to draw the outline of their fish, quite large, and then with watercolour paint, just splatter with beautiful colours, maybe try and get the colours of the ocean, the kelp, whatever they're feeling. It's very open. And then inside, the idea, say we were writing protection, is to fill the fish. It can be more than one word. Fill the fish with the letters of whatever they were wanting to share about how we can protect the kelp, or what the kelp does for the environment and animals. I won't run the whole thing, but you get
That's amazing.
idea.
What a great idea.
And then once that's done, it's all dry, the kids cut their fish out and the kelp goes up on the wall, and the fish, they're actually, some of them will be curve shaped, so some will go underneath the kelp, some will be stuck on top to make it look like they're swirling around their beautiful kelp. Cool, thanks.
One of the KLAs outside of the arts that we're focusing on is geography. For geography, for the first activity, they're going to have a case study of a group called Irab Arts. They're a group that are in the Torres Strait Islands. And what they do is they fish all these ghost nets, which are abandoned fishing nets, out of the oceans that surround their island, and they make these big, beautiful artworks out of them. So through looking at that, they're going to look at how different groups connect to place, and how they're using their art form to promote a message of sustainability. Then for the second activity, they're going to do some research about kelp. So in Tasmania, the giant kelp are on the endangered species list. So the kids are going to sort of go through and compile their own little sort of profile on the species and put together a bit of information that they will then use for their English activity.
Yeah, so our other KLA that we've focused on that's outside of the arts is English. So for the first activity, students are going to watch a behind the news segment on plastic pollution problems. And then as a class, we're going to brainstorm ways that we can minimise our impact on the environment throughout our classroom. So this could be recycling, separating our soft plastics, reusing scrap paper to make into notebooks. And from that, students are then going to use that information that they've gained to design a brochure on what we can do as a class to help minimise our impact. And then that brochure will then be presented to the rest of the school, so that if classes would like, they can implement it in their rooms as well. The second activity is a persuasive piece of writing, so we'll be using the research from the geography lesson to write a persuasive piece which addresses why giant kelp is important in our ecosystem. So students must include how giant kelp affects humans, how it creates habitats for animals, and the consequences of us losing giant kelp to over-harvesting and changing sea conditions.
So throughout all of our activities, we have included extensions for our gifted and talented students. So examples of these in our dance is getting the students to take on more of a leadership role. That could be the first leader in the flocking activity, that could be that first student leading the flock, or in our choreography, they can use a checklist to ensure that their group is meeting the expectations of the success criteria. In drama with our storyscape, the student could actually do the role that Jen performed with being the divers and examining the landscape of the underwater scene and using that language that they've picked up in the other KLA research, so literacy and geography, to describe the changes that they're noticing to this environment based on the pollution. In the hot seat activity, the students could be required to use a more wider range of movements and voice skills to create that dramatic tension when they're on the hot seat, rather than just answering questions, bringing more of those drama techniques to their performance. Jen, did you want to take music?
Oh, okay. So in music, we thought as an extension activity for our gifted and talented students, they could research their own music, which impacts their emotions, so it's not just refined to those natural and man-made songs. It's perhaps looking at lyrics and building on those like emotions from lyrics and sounds and different kind of music. With the second activity, our take on sustainability, as an extension, students may be given the opportunity to use computer programs such as GarageBand or SoundCloud to further develop that piece, so to add those layers and keep developing those musical concepts through a program.
So for the visual arts activities, I thought instead of collaging, the students might like to research and draw how the ocean and the kelp, support and interrelate, or draw ways that we can sustain these things. The other idea is that kids might like to film and put together a bit of a presentation that could be presented to another class, teacher or the school on how they've made this installation and what they've learnt about sustainability and the importance of kelp, or what's happening to the kelp.
So for geography, the way that we're going to sort of extend and differentiate for gifted and talented students is by getting them to go beyond describing when they're looking at the Era of Arts case study, and sort of go beyond that and look to explain the interactions and connections between people and place. And then for the second activity, we're going to encourage them to compare and contrast as opposed to just describing. And then when they undergo the research, sort of just really encouraging them to research quite deeply and broadly on the topic.
So for literacy, for the brochure activity, the gifted and talented students as an anchoring activity will actually oversee compiling all the brochures into a presentation that will then be offered to the school. And for activity 2, for the persuasive piece of writing, the gifted and talented students will be completing further research that may include data and graphs in relation to kelp changes over a period of time.
That's our unit. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.